Welcome to the Swing Trading with Cycles channel. We're going to do an update on crude oil today. It's February 26th. It's a Sunday, so we're going to start trading later tonight, actually. And we're actually using the TradingView app today, so hopefully it's not buggy, nothing happens, as opposed to just the desktop login. So we've been talking about this. We'll look at crude oil, we'll look at Brent really quickly, and we'll look at a bunch of energy names, which have been rolling over. And so crude oil has been in this sort of just textbook consolidation, right? Goes up, then goes down. Goes up, then goes down. And one way of thinking about that is it basically gives back almost the whole rally, except it's not. It's making higher lows here. And we talked about, you can see Brent is making slightly higher lows. You see this low, and then this low is higher than that one. That low is higher than that one. That low is higher than that one. But Brent is underneath, call it 88, almost 89. And U.S. oil is underneath 83, thereabouts. The floor for U.S. oil has been around 70. And for Brent, again, we're holding these higher lows. It's been in the 78 range. So same pattern, just chopping around here. And I'm not much for technical chart patterns, but this looks like a head and shoulders. This being a head, this being a shoulder, this being a shoulder. It doesn't really matter what you call it. If you look at it on the weekly chart, you can see the swing high here, week 7. That's why it's marked here. This has been one of the choppiest weekly cycles you could ever see. I mean, you can see on this week, we are literally going nowhere. Now, obviously, this is, again, it's been trending from around the lowest low around 70 and highest around 83, so a $13 range. But I mean, man, enough to kind of make you queasy. So if we counted, this would be 7, 8, 9, 10. This would be week 11. And in terms of the daily cycle, this recent low on day 39, it's like heads or tails. You could this could be a daily cycle low, and this is a new cycle here. If that were the case, again, this is obviously very murky. Sometimes it is what it is. This rallied for 5 days, and now this is day 14. So that's one way to think about it. You have a 5-day rally, and then an 11-day decline so far. This is obviously trying to reverse to the upside here. And again, this is another higher low. So let's watch that. It's attempting, we need to break above this level here. And then this whole thing, this becomes like a double bottom sort of swing low kind of situation, right? You can imagine if we get follow through the candle tonight, does something like that. And that gives you your swing. That makes this a swing low. And again, it's a higher low. So we're going to let's look at the monthly chart as well. Again, just chopping around. It is red for the month. That's always good to know. And I'll also point out, this has just been an inside month compared to the January candle, which itself was an inside month compared to the December candle. And what we're setting up here is for March to be yet another inside month. So this would be, it would open that way. Who knows how it's going to close? But I mean, again, just all to illustrate the point that we are consolidating. The range is getting tighter. Okay, let's walk through some energy names. Let's try to go through this pretty quickly. VLO, it's a refiner. Ooh, look at that. So the same kind of reversal that we saw for oil, we have an attempt being made here. And the way you would read this certainly looks to be a daily cycle low and an advance out of a daily cycle. Let's see. Let's count this bad boy. So is that a high? That's 141.32, 140. Yeah, so that was our high on day 5. And it is currently, we'll do this really quickly, day 13. So it will start day 14 on Tuesday. And just zooming out here, this thing has rallied for, this has been a pretty furious rally. Let's get rid of that now. And all this is an inside month after a really big candle from January. And so similar to oil, we're setting up for an inside month. I think we're going to probably see this for a lot of the names. And so I won't go through that in as much detail. But you think about it, it creates it's just a range inside a range, right? We never got outside of this big range, and now we're going to just go into a smaller range. And this one actually pays a nice dividend. So, it does kind of pay you to wait, if you will. What is that? 3% actually yield. And you can see this is all, you could read this as kind of consolidation above this former peak, recently made all-time highs. So this is definitely one of the more bullish of the ones of these names. XLE, important to note, I tweeted about this. If you're not following on Twitter, definitely take a look at the pinned comment. This is one of only 4 sectors that is green on the quarterly chart, or excuse me, red on the quarterly chart. You can see we're red on this monthly, but more importantly, if we flip this over to a quarterly chart, you can see we're red right now. Still an inside quarter, so we need to fall below 74.49 for that to change. And so you could think of that as a potential area of support if this decline continues. It's a good rule of thumb, a good way to think about it. And you can think about that same principle for a lot of these. And so again, if you think about the move here, this definitely looks like a daily cycle. Well, in this case, this actually looks more like, you know, the last throws. And so that might shift the odds that the move for VLO, so for Valero, was not a daily cycle low. So you can see that. That looks more textbook, like this is your daily cycle low, which would be relatively bullish because it means you have a bit of a fresh rally. This is your 50-day moving average here in teal. We'll see what the day brings tomorrow and really how oil opens tonight, obviously. XOP, actually, I'll go back to the weekly. What is the weekly showing? So, yeah, so nice. So you think about the setup here. A move above this high makes this a weekly swing low. So that's actually a pretty bullish setup in the short term. That's a move above 85.26. That would be your trigger. We get a move like that, you can just kind of imagine the weekly candle for next week does something like this. This is all while the broader market is probably in weekly cycle decline, yet it's also in the timing band for a daily cycle low. So it's kind of complex. We're due for a short-term low, even though we may be in a weekly downtrend. So really important next few weeks coming up here. So XOP. So they're all really the same setup, setting up for a weekly swing low next week. So XOP, that's a move above 134.55. And important to note, Friday was actually a bullish outside candle for XOP. Is that the same for XLE? So XLE did not make it to a bullish outside candle, but XOP did. So XOP is starting to outperform a little bit. That's really interesting. That's certainly a risk-on sign if you ever did see one, right? And this yellow line is a 200-day moving average. I'll kind of get rid of that for now. We're obviously well above that in a lot of cases. So Exxon is a little bit weaker. Didn't quite get green on the weekly, but a move above 112.38 will give you that weekly swing low. So a lot of these are showing a similar pattern. They either didn't quite make it to the bullish outside daily candle, so Exxon didn't quite make it, but something like Phillips 66 did, right? Just like XOP did. And so that tells you if it did make a bullish outside daily candle, it's going to be a stronger candle on the weekly. And this perfect example closed much closer to the highs. So we need to get above 102.01, and we closed at 102, right? So just a cent off the highs. That's a pretty bullish setup there. And this pays a 4% dividend. These energy names have just been bought up. I will say this one has been making a series of lower, like this high is lower than that one. So, VLO looks like probably the best bet out of these. XOP, which has been outperforming, didn't quite make it to a green week, but did get the bullish outside daily candle. So for OIH, that's a move above 316 to trigger that weekly swing low and possible follow through. ConocoPhillips, that would be a move above 106.40 on the weekly chart. This one did not make that bullish outside daily candle. But again, we talk about this all the time. We could get a Monday candle that looks like this. So the combined candle here is an outside candle of that. It's sort of a compound bullish outside candle. Devon, this one is probably the worst performer. And my God, look at this. 2 identical daily candles right next to each other. And so similar to like this situation, look at these 2 daily candles right next to each other. And then look what happened after that. I would imagine this thing is going to continue its downtrend, right? You can see this is kind of picture perfect in a way. Then do something like that. This one, if we look at the higher time frames on this one, it's really telling you, let me get rid of this here. So look at that monthly candle. We're well below last month's low. We're just kind of drooping lower. This is seeking out that like $50 area, like this cluster of pivots here, take out that liquidity center, and look at the quarterly. So big level here. We are well below the low of last quarter. And look at that wick on that last quarter. Look at these 3 quarters. Look at the wick. This thing just can't hold highs, right? A lot of selling pressure comes in. And you can see the all-time high comes in at 127. So we're still well below all-time highs. That's an important signal to you, potential upside supply, above, which is what's been happening, or some combination of buyers drying up and supply sort of showing up. And you can see It actually comes in right at that level, like right here, which is the level where we topped out and then had this huge cascade lower into a big 2016 low. So Devon, definitely the one to stay away from. Also potential short target if one were inclined to do that kind of thing. Marathon didn't quite get green on the so this one is underperforming just a little bit. Move above 25.99 gives you that weekly swing low. Chevron, a move above 163.75 gives you that swing low. And then let's look at the oil services name. So Halliburton, ooh, that looks strong. Bullish outside candle on the daily. Yeah, so that looks like, so Halliburton, okay. So a high on day 25 and potentially a low on day 51. That looks really nice for a cycle. Like boom to there, right? So this is probably one of the best setups. Just looking at this really quickly, eyeballing it. Let's look at the weekly chart after that. But I mean, look at this. Took out both of these candles, all this move, just whoop. And so you could see this thing definitely wanting to test at least up there, right? So like that's another, call it $1 of upside. And if we can get through there, back to these levels, so closer to 40. Let's look at what the weekly chart wants to tell us. So on the weekly chart, again, same setup. It makes the levels easy. A move above 37.08 gives you a weekly swing low, and this is potentially off to the races, something like that. And again, you can kind of see the levels on the weekly chart. That was a big level where things stalled out. This wick, that's all the way up there at 39.75. So on a weekly time frame, it actually looks like almost a straight shot there. Yet if we look at the daily chart, we can see there may be some resistance around here, like these wicks here. But this is actually a pretty nice risk reward here. Smaller dividend here, $1.73. Schlumberger, a little bit weaker, closed a little bit off the highs, but same picture. A move above 54.59 would give you that weekly swing low. And that's a move to potentially 57.66. So nice little upside there. So wait, that's a move above 54.59 gets you to 57.66. So like $3 of upside on a $55 name. That's not bad at all. And finally, let's look at Baker Hughes. Also looks good for some kind of cycle low potentially. So again, knowing that the broader market is probably due for a daily cycle low, maybe that's what we're going to get this week. Make sure you're vigilant for that swing low, for that swing high. That might signal that we're continuing the intermediate cycle decline, the weekly cycle decline. And for Baker Hughes, weak looking candle, it's a doji, but I mean ultimately it's consolidation instead of following this big move down, which I mean this was a bearish outside candle, so that's kind of danger zone. But a move above 30.78 again gives you that weekly swing low, and because this is a bearish outside candle, it was kind of a false breakdown or a false breakout, excuse me, right? Price couldn't follow through, and then it just kind of crashed. But if we can kind of set it could mean a slingshot move back up to this high potentially, which could be obviously a really kind of powerful short-term trade. And this one is still beneath like all-time highs at around $38. So that's, or actually, whoa, let's zoom out. Okay. All-time highs are actually about $70. So still like a more than double if it were to get back to all-time highs. And if we look at the monthly, this actually is still green on the monthly, which is not true for most of these. And it is kind of nursing a pretty nice long-term bottom over here. Well, actually, excuse me. This is the quarterly. If we go to the monthly, yeah, so we are green on the monthly, but the quarterly does stay, we're red on the monthly, excuse me, but the quarterly is green, unlike XLE again, which is actually red on the quarter. But this could definitely be the reversal. Like, if you kind of think about the setup here, the bear case would be that this is a lower high, like this is a lower high here to send price to lower lows. Like you always want to make sure that you're aware of what the potential bear case or bull case might be. And obviously the bull case is that this is consolidation. We get like a little, maybe even we get a little move lower, but then it resolves into another higher high, followed by, another higher low, et cetera, et cetera. So you always, again, want to be aware which scenario does it seem like is most likely to play out, and that's how you position yourself, obviously. So those are all the names. That's the outlook on oil. The commodity itself is in a massive trading range. I think that's probably the most important thing to be aware of. And just know that, like these stocks, using XLE as the example, they've run for many, many months. What is this rally? It was a 32-month rally into a top so far in November. So we do have a swing high on the board on the monthly. That's also important just to set the table. But we haven't gone very far. So it's still just kind of consolidating up here. Very important levels to watch over the next sort of few days and weeks. So we'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching.